Season 3, Episode 2 of Grown As Women. In this particular episode, you're going to hear us talk and dive deeply into what it means to be a friend. And sure, you've heard the conversation before. You may have even heard it from the Grown Ass Women before, but this one is different because we center it on I messages. How do I show up as a friend? How am I intentional as a friend? What is it that I expect from friendships? How do I understand when friends decide that I am no longer part of their lifetime concentric circle? Maybe I am now part of the reason friendship or the season friendship. But what it was my role in all of this. In this episode, it gets deep. We dive deep. We talk about all the things. I gets a little heated at different moments. We talk about faith. We talk about intentionality and all the things. We are also excited that in this episode, we bring forth our first guest, Melissa Mimi Johnson, also known as Barbie Doll 13, with all of her wonderful followers. And she talks to us about her first reaction in terms of not being a good friend and how she has learned to be a friend, the process of learning, the process of observation, the process of showing up. Again, in this episode, it's centered on I as a friend. And I want to put it back to you. Who are you specifically as a friend? Outside of the external elements, outside of who your friends are or who you want them to be, who are you specifically? So in this episode, you're going to hear each and every one of the grown ass women talk about how we show up as a friend with intentionality, with purpose, with ease. Come on, listen in, watch. We're ready for you. All right now. Season 3. Episode 2, Grown As Women. And we finally did something we've been talking about for 3 seasons. Two seasons?
Yeah.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, years.
Guess what, guys? We have a guest! DLLL.
You are the first guest.
First Grown As Woman guest is Melissa.
The illustrious.
Mimi Johnson.
Clank, 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 clank.
If you think I'm pressed, I actually am. Okay.
Facts.
We have been talking about having a guest on Grown Ass Women for ever, right?
Yeah.
We are a friend group that talks to each other every single day. We're on text, we're on calls, we're on random FaceTimes. Something happens, we're like, girl, who is free right now? And that's what we're doing. And we said, hey, what does it look like to bring another person into the dynamic to talk about being a grown-ass woman? And so we we like immediately went for Mimi. So we'll talk about who Mimi is and how she's connected to grown ass women in just a second. But it was super exciting and important to us for Mimi to say yes, give us the affirmative and say she wanted to be on Grown As Women. So, hey, Mimi.
Hey, the DLLL.
I'm really excited to be here. So thanks for the invite. Didn't realize that was the first, but I'm a first. So
Girl, you inaugural.
Making history.
Okay, making history.
And you're red
Hey, look at you, mommy. You looking good. Okay.
Thank you.
Play.
So we're going to do our introductions. We're going to start with Jonai and then bring it around to Mimi, right?
Okay.
We good with that?
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jay.
Hey y'all. Tis the season. I'm Jonai Carr. I'm passing the mic.
Double divorcee, Nikki.
Deana Kennedy.
Cheers.
The doctor's in the house.
Drum roll.
Okay, so I'm Melissa Mimi Johnson, aka
The DLLL. Come on now.
aka Barbie Doll, and
Barbie doll.
we'll talk about that another time. How those names came about, since you guys got some fancy ones. But, yeah, other than that, I'm just a Mimi to my friends. So.
Well, tell us about Barbie Doll, Mimi, because you do have a platform, right? You are working with different companies.
I do, but Barbie Doll actually came from my a really good friend, and the topic is friends here. So he was my very best friend, and he unfortunately got killed. So in a very bad accident, but he was ever so fabulous, and he was my Ken doll, and I was his Barbie doll. So that is how I got the name. So no, I'm not this conceited brat. It's like, I think I'm a Barbie doll. No, he named me Barbie doll, and he would buy me all these different clothes and dress me, and I thought it was just amazing, and he was just amazing. So that's why they call me Barbie doll, and it just stuck. So it's reasons behind that.
I didn't know that, Mimi.
See, look at us friends doing stuff.
And Mimi, the way you spell Barbie doll on your socials is different than doll, right? Different than the DOLL. Tell us how to tell the people how to.
So my Instagram tag is Barbie doll 13, BARBIDAHL, because I'm not the typical Barbie, BARBIE.
That's right.
Mine's a little different, of course. I'm not a white
Fabulous
Barbie.
over 40.
So I just took a different spin to it. You know, like I said, when I say my best friend who got killed was fabulous, he was fabulous. He was a part of the LGBT community. When we flip shit. We do things different. So, you know, we do things a little fabulous. So we spell doll fabulous too. So there you have it. DAHL, here we are.
Come on.
Everything's different. So, yeah.
So make sure you guys are following Barbie doll 13 on her socials. And we are super excited as her friend group because we are anticipating the news for a new award, a new recognition.
I don't know. I'm just a finalist.
Girl,
so
the
we
way
don't
we've been
know.
voting, you gonna get
Come on,
that.
ma'am.
Every day, all the
Every
days.
day
It's a
voting.
great cause, regardless of what happens. I keep telling everybody that I am so excited. What is it? Fab over
Fabulous
40. I'm just
over 40.
excited because it's for a
Fab
good
over
cause.
40.
It's breast cancer awareness. Got tons of people going through breast cancer, have gone through it, are going through different things right now. I've got someone extremely close to me going through this right now. So whether you're sending money, whether you're sending votes, it's all for a great cause, and it's just recognizing women over 40, and if it ties right on in, it's grown-ass women. So
Fab,
Look at you.
Fab 40
you're
over
cute.
40. By the time this airs, our own Barbie doll will be the winner of Fab
thank
40
you.
over
We just
40.
gonna
Okay.
claim it.
We gonna claim it because that's what Black
We're
women
gonna
do,
claim
right?
Okay.
We be
Yeah.
claiming it.
Yeah.
We be claiming it.
And you're our
Clank,
winner.
clank.
So, in terms of introductions, you guys know me, right? Dr. Plummer, Onyx Therapy Group. This is what I love to do, right? Talk. That's what I love to do. So, we're talking about friendships today. And of course, we're grown as women, so we've talked about friendships several different times. In fact, when we put this in the chat, one of the homies was like, we already talked about that, right? They put a new spin on it. I was like, all right, cool. We're going to put a spin on it. We're going to talk about it in different levels. But I want us to go a bit more I statement centric in terms of how we show up as friends. A lot of times in friendships, we put it on the other person, right? Like, oh, this is how they see me and this is yada, yada, yada. But how do we own how we show up as friends? How do we own when a person decides they don't want to be our friend anymore? How do we own when they decide like, and you not rocking the same way you used to? How do we own navigating all of that? Because our defense mechanisms, right? Freudian says that we project it, we rationalize it, we intellectualize it, but we don't always sit into ourselves and be like, what was my role in how this person saw me? What was my role in terms of how I decided to show up? What was my role when somebody held me accountable and said, hey, you ain't showing up the way that you used to show up and it's making me feel uncomfortable? Or is this a major change or is this a temporary change? Like, how do we show up in friendships based off of who we are? And we decided to ask Mimi to be a part of this conversation with us because she is very close friends. In fact, god sisters with our own Nikki, Nina.
Divorcing.
And she's a good friend to us all. She's also really special and important to me. Child, we went to Belize for my birthday. Baby, it was the vacation from hell. Okay.
It was an experience.
Okay.
If I could
was
post
an
the mosquito
experience.
photos.
I had fun, so.
And the whole time,
And she's
Mimi was
like, I
like,
had
you
fun.
okay now? We gonna keep riding. until it was time for breakfast, and she was like, "This is what I'm gonna eat, and I don't care what y'all gonna eat." So she showed up as a friend to me in ways that I did not expect, and my connection with Mimi is actually through Nikki
at LaNail's wedding.
Okay.
Double divorcee.
Okay.
I'm a
Double divorcee.
soundbite that for her.
When I first saw Mimi looked like, you guys remember that show Power? Mimi looked like
Boo Boo Kitty.
Boo Boo Kitty. And I walked in and I said, who brought Boo Boo Kitty? And it was Mimi.
Drippity drop.
Oh my God.
No dry drops over
I
here.
saw that one.
And over the years, Mimi and I and the group have had some really interesting and real conversations about how Mimi shows up in the world, how people perceive her based off of her looks, her talents, her career, all the things that we've talked about in our group anyway, right? And Mimi's realness in the conversations was part of the reason where I was like, Mimi would be the perfect first guest. Grown Ass Women, are you guys down? They was like 100 for sure. We love Mimi. Mimi knows how to be a friend, right? And so as we dive deeper into the conversations today around friendships and owning our role in friendships, we are super honored once again to have Mimi here with us.
Yeah.
So ladies, we're gonna dive deep into it, right? Because we have already had many conversations around friendships. We already know the things, right? I think we've actually defined it with Webster's and, you know,
Multiple Websters.
With all the multiple Websters, Urban Dictionary,
Nordstrom's.
all the things. But I want to ask this question to you all. What is your role in friendships? Take out how people perceive you. Only focus on you. What is your intentionality and your role in showing up as a friend? And what is unique about you as a friend? What do you actually bring to friendships? And don't give me no bullshit like, I'm a good listener. I bring
That is not
I
unique to
bring
me.
wine. Nobody cares. Save the drama for your mama, okay?
I'm a good listener.
How do you actually show up as a friend? What do you bring to a friendship that makes people want, not even people, what do you bring to a friendship?
With the doll?
Oh, yeah. Come on, doll.
I mean,
You got it.
you had an answer, Jonai. You was like right there with it. Okay.
I thought about this, and I don't think I'm a good friend.
Dang, dive deep.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say,
fast.
I've actually told Nikki that, but the conversation comes when Nikki will say, "No, you are. You do this. You do this. You do this." I had to learn to be a friend.
Okay.
I have to learn to be a friend. I learned from you. I learned from you. I learned from all my other friends. I have to learn how to be a friend. I was like, oh, wow, you do that? Okay, I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to. I am a Scorpio. Let me just put that out there right now.
I was gonna tag into that part.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna go after you.
I had to learn to be a friend. Nikki and I grew up together. So it's more like you're in a household with your sister or brother or something, and there is no breakup. There is no I'm always gonna be here. Whether we're mad at each other, whether we're so happy for each other, I'm just going to be here. So you either take it or leave it. And if you leave it, I'm gonna call you and be like, where you at? Why you haven't called me? Well, I'm mad at you. Well, I'm mad at you too. So we're gonna figure this out together. And that's literally how our relationship has been. Like, I am far from perfect. Nikki is far from perfect.
Whoa.
We are all
Flag on the
far.
flag.
Hey, you let her have her
Right, we are all just far from perfect. But like I said, when I say I'm not a good friend, like the dynamics when LaNail and everybody came into the group, I was like, wow, this is great. I always think people are just amazing anyway. If you're doing anything that I can learn from, I'm like, oh, wow. And it's not like I want to be your friend. It's more like, let me listen. Let me hear what you have to say. It's like this I'm just inspired. I have this thing. It was like, oh my gosh, like your when I said your makeup was beautiful, it was like I want to be your friend. I was like, your makeup is beautiful. You know what I mean? And like LaNail, I just think she's just amazing with all that she does. She's just so smart to me. And Nikki is just so smart and just I've known her forever, so it's like I can sit here and write a book.
I was like, whoa, what's coming next?
Yeah, Ayana, I'm just learning Ayana. I'm also just learning.
Choking right now.
Ayana, are you choking the way you want to, or
needs
you
some
need a
more
little?
sage. I'm okay. No.
You-
I need.
because
more
sometimes I know
champagne.
you like to choke.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, just like,
Go ahead,
I'm
doll.
just gonna circle back to I had to learn how to be a friend. You know, Nikki would tell me about myself, and I think that those courageous conversations are necessary. You know, to tell you about yourself. In other terms, you need to check yourself. You know, like, oh, okay, well, I'll do that. And we do that for each other without necessarily getting mad. Or sad. We have
Somebody need to put a pillow around Nikki. What is happening? I think what I'm taking as a take.
Somebody get her a mint.
Right. It ain't a bitch. She
where is
need,
the
okay?
church mother?
Yeah.
All I can give you is a background, baby.
I'm fine.
My Mandingo ain't that big.
I think what I'm taking away from that particular conversation, Mimi, and everybody doesn't know in the audience around that you're an educator, right? So to learn to be a friend means that there's a process. And there's a couple things that you pulled out of that, right? Like you talked about like somebody having to teach you something, somebody having to, you having to observe key elements, right? Like you having to sit back and say, I'm going to take this piece and I'm not going to take this piece, right? Like there's a process to becoming a friend. And in understanding and teaching human development, we see kids just playing alongside each other, right? Parallel play. And you see it in education too, in the classrooms that you're in. Kids can work with each other, but it doesn't mean that there's an intentionality around forming a friendship. And it doesn't even mean that a person is aware of how they show up as a friend. In the examples that you gave, you talked about diving deep real fast into, which I appreciate, into like not knowing how to be a good friend, but being open enough to learning. Yes. So I put it out to the other grown-ass women, including Mimi. What are you learning about being a... Listen, this is not a conversation between Nikki Nina and Melissa Mimi.
It was not going to be that. It was
Exactly.
not.
But
It was not.
the focus that I'm saying is on the process of learning. We take for granted that just because we could be alongside a person, that we are friends. That is not
Intentionality.
true.
You mentioned
Right.
intentionality.
There is that is actually called parallel play.
Right.
It is
Yeah.
not called friendship.
Intention.
What is the intentionality from your perspective for you as an individual grown-ass woman in being a friend?
I don't think that. I don't think that you go into friendships with intention. I really don't. I think it's just something that happens, right? And then as the friendship matures, then you learn each other, right? What does this person need? Because all your friends don't need the same thing, right? Yeah. You have different friends, and I know we'll get deeper into that. You have different friends for different reasons. And, you know, I don't know that we set aside, we go to the side and say, okay, here is what I'm going to be as a core friend. And then I will elevate for these different friends or whatever. We manage so many relationships in our lives, whether it's working relationships, personal relationships, romantic relationships or whatever. Yeah, there's so many relationships that we have. I think it's very easy to fall to the wayside depending on what's going on in your life, right? So I think it's also about communication and being in touch with yourself, right? What's going on with me and how am I communicating that with my friends and my colleagues and my loved ones or whatever.
Jay, is there a point in our life where we should actually be intentional in being a friend, though?
I'm sorry, say again?
Okay, go ahead.
No, I didn't hear what you said.
I could come back to it. I'll remember it. I'm going to come back to it.
No, I was going to say I agree with Jay because y'all know me. I'm an Aries. I flow. There's not much I do intentionally. But when I am at a precipice, I don't know if that's the correct...
Whoa. I think that I think that's a point that should be highlighted and made, not just for D, but for others, and that some friends are just not intentional.
Yeah, I live in a flow. If it flows here and this person needs me for whatever reason that I can be there, then I'm going to do that. And if it develops a lifelong relationship, then that's what happens. If it flows here and this person needs me for a season, then I can do that as well. And I'm okay with not having a lifelong friendship with that person. My goal and my purpose is to be there when I am needed for the things that I'm needed for. So sometimes I will flow into a relationship and it becomes a lifelong relationship. And because of my rearing, because of how I was, developed as a human, that simultaneous play, as you say, I didn't get that. So I have to learn that. And so then there becomes the intentionality. It's like, oh, this person didn't like that. I care for them. I want them to be in my life because of whatever we've built. What do I need to do to change? But we also know change is a cycle. So the other friend has to be there as I work through that cycle, and I have to also work through that cycle. And so it's not always automatic because we don't always grow up in those situations. Y'all know me, I've said this a ton of times. In my family, not family, we will act like you do not exist on this planet if you cross us. And I had to learn how to be different. I had to learn how to say, oh, that's not what I want in this relationship. So how do I make it better? And so that's a learning opportunity, as Mimi said. So now I have to learn and act at the same time. And it's not always so easy. There's a cycle to that because there's change. And so you're learning, you're acting, you're screwing up. You're learning, you're acting, you're getting it right. You're learning, you're acting. I don't even know if I like myself this way.
And do you need to be told? Does somebody need to blatantly say?
Absolutely,
hey,
because I don't know different.
Yeah.
I don't know different.
Yeah.
The way that I happen in my relationships, they're flowing. If they're not flowing, we converge into different spaces. But if we both decide that we want this relationship to move further, then there has to be intentional communication about what you need, what I need. And then there is the change process. How do I give this person what they need? What do I need to let go of as a human? And am I willing? Because there's a grief cycle there. Because am I willing to let go of my old behaviors to be friends with this person? So there's a lot in that conversation.
That sounds a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes. Do you even have the capacity?
And
That's a lot.
And right now in my life, do I have the capacity to do it? Or can I just hold you here and say, baby, I love you, but right now I can't give you what you need, but just hold on. I'm coming.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
You're talking about
Yeah.
change cycles. You're talking about grief and learning. Go ahead, Doc. I'm sorry.
And you're talking about holding space for people. I think what's interesting is several people are saying that they don't enter friendships intentionally, but I'm more, again, hey, fellow Scorp, a fixed sign and an only child. Yeah,
Hey,
and
Bird.
an only child. Like,
Hey, Airs.
I am intentional about every single friendship I enter into. And I have heard time and time
We
again,
know
people,
that.
I know, people are always like, I don't think she likes me. And I'm like,
Facts.
look,
Facts across the
people
board.
say it all the time because I am so intentional because it didn't come naturally. Again, I'm a natural skeptic. Again, only child, so I didn't know how to deal with, sisters and brothers. I don't even know what that is, right? So to me, I do enter friendships very intentionally. Who are you? What are and what and because why are you here? Why am I here? What are we gonna do in this situation? Like all of those things come out. So it does bring this intentionality, and people also know I am all about those concentric circles.
You are.
Right? Like just because we jive at work, that's not my friend. That is someone I know from work. Like I'm very annoyingly clear, probably to the people at work, I'm annoyingly clear that it's not the same for me because of that intentionality that I do bring to being a friend. Because when I am your friend, I am going to give you all of it. I am in awe of people who can be in casual friendships. I really am. I'm just like, you can just like talk to people because it's just so opposite of how I react to things, right? Yeah, and I'm just like,
I am very hands off to
Right.
friend. No, you're an acquaintance,
Right,
And we really need to
exactly.
define those two,
Right,
If you're a
right.
friend or you're an acquaintance, and that goes into your reason for a season,
right,
because
exactly.
I'm very diligent about who I call a friend, and you're like, oh, that's an acquaintance.
So that's
Right.
why I would say, and this is why I was making the noises, you are a good friend because you're intentional about who your friend is and who you call a friend. Where my intentionality is almost the opposite of what you all are doing because it's so easy for me to be comfortable with people. I have to be intentional when I want someone to not be comfortable with me. That's the opposite end. Like now I have to be uncomfortable to not have a kiki chat with you, which is easy for me. But now I have to go out my way to be the Scorpios in my life to be like, hey,
True.
that's a lot for me. Where I'll be like, hey, how are you? That's easier for me. Right? And then I keep it moving where now I'll be like, hey, great. I'm not going to say good to see you. I'm not going to say I miss you. I'm not going to do any of that because that's a lot more work. So for me, back to your original question of offering, it's the accountability, but that came with age and experience, right? That came with, okay, what could I have done differently? What was my role in this? But I envy y'all for that because sometimes I'm like, I have to not feel good or not be in a good mood to shut it down, meeting people. And they be like, ooh, no one's ever going to meet me when I feel good and say, oh, she bitch. Right. No, nobody. Right. However.
With intention, you can make that clear.
Right.
Yes.
And I want. Can I say
quick.
one more thing about learning?
Okay.
Though, I learned how to be a friend. It was really you, Dr. Plummer, because I would do wild things. We went to Chicago.
Oh God.
And I think nothing of, I want to go here, and I will pick up my purse and I will go. And I did that.
Yes, you did.
In Chicago, and didn't tell anybody where I was going, what I was doing. And to this day, how long was that? Like 10 years ago. To this day, LaNail was like, remember that time you just disappeared? And I had to learn that it's like, oh, you can't just disappear on people. Right? Especially when you went to a city with them.
You cannot do that.
That is the whole group trip.
I know. I was going to say,
It's not a group. It's 3 people. And you just don't show up.
Yeah.
It's like it's a friendship. A really good friendship is honestly like a marriage. You really have to be intentional in committing to having that friend as your friend. To Ayana's point, if I'll disappear because I am a Scorpio, and I keep bringing that up
She'll
because
text ahead
I
of
will
time,
just,
I'm about to
I am
disappear.
going into my hole, just leave me alone. And
ma'am.
she'll be like, you have not called me. She will just call you all the time. I'm like, I can't do this right now. She was like, well, and I'll text her, be like, I'm going in my hole. Okay, she'll text me sporadically. Are you okay? And be like, it'd be on do not disturb. I'll get back to you when I can, but it's not me, but it's her learning me. Some people might not like that, but you have to know that I'm going to go into my hole.
And you have to communicate.
And you have to communicate that
communicate,
because marriage, being with a significant other, you have to communicate that, or it's all about communication, guys. It really is all about communication. You can literally come up to somebody who you think is your friend and be like, I really just don't want to be your friend right now. I don't want to be your friend at all. And you think that is so easy, but for you and for me, it might be easy, but the other person might not feel that way.
And so I want us to take a moment and center back to who we are, right? Like we know what we are, especially as Black women, we're always conditioned to think about the other person. That is like how we've always been taught, right? Like you did this and it made this person feel this way, and you did that and they thought this. But what about us? Like, how do we show up? Do we even put being a friend on our vision board, right? Like, do we even think, okay, but I want us to sit about that. I want us to sit and think about that for just a second. So I want to, again, be extremely intentional about our role in friendships. And I want to take it back. I know everybody is like, LaNail, what the hell? You're being extra Virgo today. And I am, because I think that a lot of times, I don't need no
commentary.
Is it a reason why you're
I
laughing?
think you're being extra Virgo.
Yeah,
Is it a reason why
Let's hear it. What
is
you
it
got?
something going on in this corner?
You didn't edit the text, so we're good.
No, I think it's great.
Okay, great.
I love the Virgo in you.
I don't even
the
know
opposite.
these people. I really only know Mimi Melissa or Melissa. Mimi. I don't know.
Melissa.
I don't know the others. I am getting hot. Didn't we do an episode on physical health?
Yes, physical health.
Because the way
Yes.
that I am sweating.
Take it off, Dr. P.
You want me to take it off?
Take it off.
I can't do a whole thing.
It's definitely hot. It's hot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Santa baby.
I'm not Santa
I'm
I'm
baby.
such a nerd. I am not sensual. That was horrible. I'll pick it up in a second.
supposed to throw it over the chair.
Throw it over there. See, the sensual people have comments. I really want to go deeper because why is it always you?
You just took off
Always.
your sweater with the grind. Now you talking about
Nobody
going
knows
deeper.
Did you read her? No.
Finish your statement.
I don't know who that is. Let's get back to the I of who we are in friendships. Okay. We keep talking about it externally. So my question was, do we put friendship on our vision boards? On our vision boards, we say money.
That's so lame.
We say houses. We
is
say
lame.
in our big 40s, right? We say retirement. Sometimes we say a good spouse that, you know, right? We say kids, we say physical, like we are so intentional, but we take friendships for granted. How do we center the I in friendships?
I think we always think that our friends are going to be there.
Right.
We use friends so loosely, and we're so used to people being there. We don't ever. I know I don't ever consider the changes that might be happening with friends, and just lifestyle changes, whether it's work or new marriages, new babies, or whatever. Like, I don't know that anybody actually sits down and is like, let me think about my friendships and what all my friends are going through.
Friends after
I do that.
I don't. It's like I don't think about that until I do.
I don't think it's
I do that.
I don't think about it until I do. Until I'm missing something, right?
Until you're missing something.
And if I haven't heard from a friend, if I wasn't invited to something,
Okay.
if whatever, and then sometimes you have to reevaluate these friendships, right? So if you have a friend group and everybody had a baby but you, and now everybody's hanging out together because they have babies, or everybody's hanging out because they're married, or whatever it is. There's so many things that you have to navigate with your friendships that don't actually happen until they do, right? And so so now you're forced to think about it, right? You're forced to communicate about it or whatever. But the issue is that a lot of times we don't communicate about it, right? You sit there in your feelings and you talk to your sidebar friends or whatever, but you don't actually talk to the person that it's happening to, right? And then we also have
Go off.
several friends, right? Several friends for whatever the reasons are. And you might be closer to one friend than the other. And so you might give your all to this friend, and then these other set of friends are lacking. But you're not even realizing it because you're just moving through life, right? You just day to day, you have your own shit, whatever.
But I think that's the difference between a best friend and a friend.
But
What are you saying?
Sometimes-
That best friends,
Put
you're
the pin there.
intentional?
Put the pin there.
Because a lot of times, a best friend is the one that you're always checking on. And then I always have my friends. I have friends who I'll sporadically, hey, I haven't heard from you. It'd be like a month or two.
That
That's
goes
the
into the
concentric
concentric
circles.
circles.
That's
That
the
goes
concentric
into the
circle of
concentric
friendship.
circles. Go ahead, Doc.
Oh, well, I was going to
Your
comment
lips look good,
first.
baby.
Oh, thank you.
you said lips.
Thank
Yeah.
I've been looking at your lips the whole time.
Thank you, Rihanna. Thank you, Rihanna.
Rihanna is not a sponsor yet.
We'd love to be
Okay.
sponsored by Fenty Gloss
okay.
Bomb. Yes, Fenty Gloss Bomb.
Riri.
Okay. Call us, Riri.
Been looking at the lips all day.
But I
Your
think what's
fine ass man.
interesting.
She might not be a sponsor. I'm not saying that.
She might want to fight you. But although it's not on my vision board because it's not that, but it's not that serious, but it goes back to that intentionality. When I find myself becoming closer to someone, I have to think about like, what is this? What is it? What are we doing here? I think somebody said it earlier. And so it makes me think about, you know, making friends when you're older. You're not putting up with the same things you were putting up with in your 20s. You're relating to people differently than you did in your 20s, because you might be relating to somebody because they have kids, right? And you join the mom's group, or you're relating to someone who is married where you're not, right? So I think as you get older, you naturally become more intentional with your friendships, because you're not just going to accept all sorts of chaos in your life, because you have a life to protect.
That
and you have things to
intentionality, though, Doc,
protect.
is not. But what is your role in it?
My role is
does that
deciding.
mean
I'm a decider.
Simply it deciding. That's it. Like there's
in many circumstances, I can think of a woman at work who, you know, I ended up who I have become closer to. Like, her husband had an art show. I went to go see the art show, and I really thought about it. I was like, are Chastity and I friends? And I had to think about it, because I was like, why am I? But I had to think about
that's your personality.
She invited me to an art show, and I thought about, what would it communicate me going to this art show for her husband? Oh, wow. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to communicate on Monday. If the art show, it was on a Sunday, on Monday, it's going to communicate something to her if I show up.
Do you like art?
Yes. Generally
know her
speaking, no, I did not know her husband,
so you went to
but I know
support
her.
in
So I
the
went
arts.
to, right. And I was like, oh, this is a nice show.
Yanni, that's more
I'm
than
gonna go.
deciding to me. That's like intentionality. That's
Right, that's
nonverbal
me
communication.
deciding, though. That's me deciding, because I
you
could have
felt
decided to
comfortable
say
enough to go
no. Right. But if someone else at work had asked me to go to an art show, I would have
you
said no,
inconvenience
thank you.
yourself for
because-
this
okay,
person?
But that don't mean we besties.
But
Yeah.
that's because something happened. There is something
There's an
happened,
event.
whether you realize it or not. There's something that some way that you connected with this person. That whether it's either you connected with the person or you connect with art, right?
You're comfortable.
So
Right.
I'm thinking that it's more so that you have some relationship with this person that's, you know, it's unspoken for now, and you decided, let me just take this a step further. I'm interested in her, and I'm interested in this art show.
But to
So-
me, that's where the decision
Was
comes
it
in.
So you're
in
intrigued
her
by
or the art
exploring
show?
the possibilities of a friendship.
But
Not really.
I don't think it was conscious.
But I thought about,
Was it
and
in
sorry,
her or the art
Chastity,
show? But
it
here's
was
where
more in, her husband does this art. It's interesting. She's a very sweet girl, so I think it's like kind of a slightly mentoring relationship as well, because I'm older than her and I'm in an older position, right?
Support.
Work is
So
different.
I was being
wait,
supportive.
but
So
wait.
when LaNail
Work
is
is
like,
different.
what do you show up in a friendship? It's like, am I going to take the time out of my very busy schedule
And
to
that-
be supportive?
But maybe
in
it's in
this
a developmental
way?
stage. You know, you're trying something out, and maybe
Right.
you know
But-
maybe
but-
subconsciously
But
trying
is
something
it
out.
with the intent of being a friend, or is it the intent of being a mentor? Because those are two different things.
They are, and I don't know.
Right.
And so that's when it comes back to moving forward, like, where again, what is this?
Right.
Where
So
is it going?
it's in a
it
developmental
is.
stage.
You're in
It's
a
like
just being
trying to
figure
figure
it
it
out.
out.
I certainly
But
hope that
wait,
our
wait,
AV
wait.
team centers in on everybody's face at different moments, because everybody is like, hey,
But think about
everybody's
it.
eyebrows
Isn't
are
it,
furrowed.
Mimi, you said earlier, it's like a marriage. When you chose your spouse and commit, it was with intention. So why is this not?
But it has to be
the
natural
same?
first.
But beyond,
It has to be natural
and
first.
then it can be
We would
intentional.
kiki. We walk across the street. We go to the curry out because yes, I do work in
the
Baltimore.
curry- you said the curry
so
out.
we go
She
to
said
the
the
curry.
curry.
The curry
We
out.
go. We went to the curry out. We get the 4 wings with salt, pepper, ketchup, and we both we like the same
so you
thing.
can buy her lunch. You can literally know what she wants to eat at lunch.
And so, but again, it was all in the confines of work.
Oh.
And so the invitation to the outside of
That's
work,
where you
I
meet-
had
that's
to
where- that's where
say,
y'all meet friends as an adult at work.
Right. Yeah. We were dating.
They going outside of the work.
Work friends
Yes.
are different. Work friends are different.
Exactly.
Work friends
but,
are different.
Yeah, but I think it's the
love
same
some of my work.
process
But see, the
in
thing
some
is,
of that.
we keep going back. We keep going back
intentionality.
to the external piece. Like
No,
work
because I'm telling you, the internal for me is I'm deciding.
Okay,
Because I'm not going to the curry out with everybody.
Curry
I'm
out.
not
I don't
going
want
to
to
do
be
it.
offensive because the way you tapped it on your chest,
Not
it was
going
real hard.
to the
And
curry out
I
with
don't want to
everybody.
be like offensive with it.
No.
What I'm asking though is that you said for you, Ayana, you have to be decisive. You have to make a decision.
Right.
And in making that decision, you'll be intentional. And in being intentional, you will show up.
I will
and in
show up.
showing up,
Yes.
that indicates support.
Yes.
So your type of friendship is one that is one of support.
Yes.
And
If
visible.
I show up for you, you can pretty much be sure that I am your friend.
Visible, physical representation indicates to somebody that you are their friend.
Yes.
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
And I'm asking
Okay.
I'm asking
Breaking
these
it down.
questions
Breaking it
because
down.
again, we operate in friendships externally because as children, we do parallel play. We just are used to somebody being alongside of us and we are never intentional
If I
about
hand you my crayon, I am your friend.
Wait, let
Come
me
on.
say
If I
something.
keep
Let me
my
say something.
crayon, I don't like you.
Come on.
Let me
And I'm
say
not your
something.
friend.
Okay.
You might be cool, but if
Okay.
I don't say, hey, you want to borrow my
you
blue?
don't want this orange?
You don't want
Okay.
this orange?
But what happens when you don't have the capacity? And instead of handing you my crayon, I'm praying over you.
At 5?
Not at 5. And we talk about 40. At 40, I'm fine. Listen, at 40, I have found that a lot of people in my life were going through things and I don't have the capacity. So I'm praying. I am praying over you. I am praying over your situation. I might not say shit to you. Sorry.
How
But
does
I
your
am-
friend
but
know
I
that
am-
you're praying for
Yeah.
them?
They might not, and that is my point.
okay.
That is
Then
my
they might
point. My
not.
point is when you say it, I might not say nothing to you because I don't even know how you're going to take it. I don't know if you have the
So there's a level of trust
capacity for
there.
my
There's-
questions.
is that a
I
trust
don't know
thing?
if you have the capacity for my intrusion on your personal life, but I am going to stop what I'm doing and I am going to pray over you earnestly. And I'm going to do that until you get to past the situation.
So you have
'Cause
to have a level of trust in your relationship.
True.
Too.
And sometimes I don't know what to say. I don't know
But
what to
is it that
say
you
to you.
But what
you
is it
say
that
that.
you're saying to God that's different than what you could say to the person?
Sometimes people don't have the capacity to hear what you got to say. God, I need you to move in the direction of what this person needs. I probably don't even have all the details, but I need you to move on this person's behalf. You know what they need.
What would happen?
Move in their favor.
D, what would happen if you pulled your friend to the side and said, "Let me pray with you"?
It depends. It depends on that friend. It depends on what they're going through. It depends on where they are in that grief cycle. Have you accepted what you're going through? Maybe not. But I'm gonna pray right now because I need God to move on your behalf.
I mean, to your point, though, everybody is not that spiritual. Everybody,
I know, but
you can't.
what I'm saying is she asked for I
I'm agreeing
statements,
with you.
and
I'm
this
saying
is my I statement.
I know. I'm agreeing with you, saying that yes, you might do that, and it might be uncomfortable if somebody is not. Oh God, the way that you are.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so that might be
It
your
sounds
thing.
like
That might not be
you're
theirs.
struggling with
and that's my I
communication.
statement. That is my thing. When I don't know what to do in a relationship, I'm gonna pray.
So D,
I'ma
I guess my
pray.
question is what does that look like in how you show up in a friendship though? Because
That is my point. It
I-
may look like I am distanced from you because I am with you in the spirit. I hope that you
But
feel
you can't
it.
be with somebody in the spirit that ain't in the spirit with you.
My spirit transcends, baby.
But not in somebody. But
Transcendent.
to Jonai's point.
But
not
sometimes
always.
that's all I can give you.
Okay, let me say something real quick.
And
let me
for
say,
me,
remember
that
what
is the highest gift.
remember what I said as far as friendship is like a marriage? If my husband is doing something that I don't particularly care for or something like that, I can pray all I want. But I need to go to that source directly and tell him what is bothering me, because praying is one thing, but you need to communicate to that person because the prayer might not be getting to that person. So instead of praying about it, I would talk to them directly about it and say, these are my issues and this is what I'm having. You can pray together and do about it, but at least that other person knows. It's a lack of communication. Friendship has everything to do with communication, not just your communication with God, because the other person might not have a background with God or anything like that. You need to communicate directly with that person. That's why I said the friendships are relationships. It's building a lifetime relationship. You have to communicate. You have to be in touch with this person's brain, their mind, their glory, their spirit. You have to be in touch with this person in order to call them a friend. And you have to.
And that's also true. But
that's
what I was saying is when I don't know what to do, and this is the I statement you asked for. Yes. This is what I do. I pray in the spirit.
But I guess my challenge with that, D, and for anybody else who is aligning with D or have those moments with D, is those moments and those prayers that you have with God is with you and God. But that doesn't demonstrate a showing up for your friend. Your friend doesn't.
That's not my belief.
And your thought is, or your belief is that your spirit transcends. But if a person is going through it, they may not, as they feel energetic shifts, they may not necessarily feel your spirit in essence, right? They may feel what they think is ancestors. They may feel what they think is God. They may feel all these things, but they don't necessarily feel your spirit. So how do you, and it's at this point, because we have gotten clarity that we running out of time in this good conversation. The question is how do you show up as friends? What is your intentionality? I think that prayer is awesome. I pray all the time. I fast every single week. I meditate. I put my friends on altar. I understand all of it. But if I'm struggling and suffering, knowing that you not knowing, or even knowing that you praying on the side ain't helping me in the physical when this pain is real.
Yeah. It could be.
I think it's when you don't know what to do in the physical.
It actually could be helping you, and you just don't know it. And I think what
it doesn't demonstrate showing up.
But as humans, we have a need for understanding. We want to know, right? We want to know everything.
We want to have a sensory experience.
Yes, we want to have a sensory experience. And so I think, the resolve around it is to just communicate. Hey, sis, I can't even begin to understand what you're going through, and I know I got my own shit, right? I just want you to know, let me know what you need. Let me know what you need, and I'll do what I can. I'm praying for you or whatever. So I think it's just communication. However it comes out, I think it just needs to be said. I think it just needs to be said.
So my question is, when
our friendship would never work if she was silent and prayed for me all the time. It would never work.
But my question is, when you have a friend who is learning how to be a friend, to your first point, and that is the only mechanism that they know is not that sensory experience, how do you deal with that? And that comes back to the season, reason, lifetime. Do you misinterpret their presence and intentionality for a season and a reason?
For there to be misinterpretation
means have that sensory experience.
For there to be misinterpretation means that there has had to be a verbal communication. You cannot misinterpret what has not been verbalized.
Okay, maybe that was the wrong word. Maybe you misconceive. I don't know what the right word is.
So I think what I'm hearing both from Mimi and Jonai is that there has to be a verbal expression of, this is my capacity. And in this capacity, I am praying for you. With only a few minutes left, we haven't, this episode could go on and on, right? It could go on.
Run this back.
You want to run back?
Before you run back, you spoke about concentric friendships, and you really wanted to put that out there. If you're not able to find that balance, like if you're one person's spiritual, one person, if you're not able to find that balance of that concentric, then maybe you need to go on the outer rung. That doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I don't like you, but you got to be on this rung, because right here is where I am. This is my orbit.
Right.
And this is where I need to be right now. So right now you need to be outside the orbit. But there's no love loss. But for my sanity and who I am mentally, that's what it is.
I think that's valid, right?
There's love loss. There's love loss when you go to the outer rung.
No, it's not. I have friends in
There
the outer
is.
rung, and that's when you go. I have swimming friends that I love to go swimming with. I have shopping friends that I love to go. They might be on the
shopping group.
Well,
they're
still in my orbit.
Why are you friends with certain people? Sometimes you are friends with people because you want to get ahead, or sometimes you're friends with people for different reasons. I think people call people friends for reasons that
there it is.
That's what I was gonna say.
I have listened to, like, because I haven't said much this session, and I've been listening.
Yeah.
I did too.
Yeah, because I've been listening, because I am, thanks to, totally different than what you all are saying. I actually, if I'm your friend, it's because of the energy, not because of what you can do for me, not because of who I can have. If you're my friend, you feel good to me.
Nigga, we
so
need to be able to eat Hardee's
it's like
together.
I can't be in it but that's just where I am now. But I would want my friend to communicate that to me.
But those good feelings could be for reasons,
right?
Those
but
good feelings
I
could
want
be
my
because
friends to
you
pray.
wear designer clothes, and that feels good.
But that's not where I am now.
People don't know that.
But
people call
But
that
I've
friendship.
evolved. So I have to say that in my
definitely
friendships,
in
in who I am and what I bring to my friendships, and I can feel it when I'm talking. I have evolved to a point where I don't have space for concentric friendships.
So you wait.
No.
What
not
are you saying?
concentrics, not concentric friendships. You are my friend or you are not.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And that's just because of where
Come on, high five, Leva.
from no, but I'm serious. I can't. At work, we are work associates. If it's parents at school, we are parents associates. But that's because I had to go through things in my concentric friendships.
So your
to say no.
statement on friendship is the energy that you bring.
It's the energy that I bring to you.
In every situation of all of your friends, you bring what energy?
I bring the energy you're going to need in the moment. And I have to put it that way. I have to put it that way. Because, energy is so important to me.
I understand.
Sometimes you're not going to need my jokes.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to need the joke.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to need to just know I can be there for the kids, or that I can be there to support you in something. It's that energy.
Does that mean that how do you channel this energy to make it?
Because that's a spiritual flow.
Do you channel the energy to make it sensory, or is it not sensory?
It's both. And when I say I've evolved, and I hate to say that because I don't like that, it's not a maybe space. It is both, and I'm clear on that. It is a sensory energy and it is a non-sensory energy too, because I cannot be with you and sense something, and I can be right next to you and sense something.
Sensory being our five senses, right? Like what we hear, what we taste, what we see, all the things that we were experiencing.
It depends.
So if we center it on the I message, you take your sensory experience and you make it visible to your friend.
If they need the touch, they get the touch.
You touched me too.
I did, that was more because I need to feel what was going on with you.
You didn't even grab her hand, Nick.
Oh no, we had a whole moment yesterday. I even took my other one and rubbed, and see, you feel differently now. You do. You feel totally different now. Like that's on just the part I can touch.
You was a little.
But I mean it. Like, it depends. Sometimes you want someone that's just going to be there and not talk. Sometimes you want someone that's just going to hold you. Sometimes you want
How do
someone
you
to
know
do
that?
things.
How do you know
Because
what somebody
I was about to say
needs?
something snarky as fuck. I'll be like, bitch, I've evolved.
Yeah, it's
No,
natural.
because that's my gift. But that's
I
my
am a
gift.
holding spirit person.
So you learn
too.
them.
I
You
am a
learn
holding
them to
spirit.
the degree of which you don't have to communicate. Okay, great. So you learn
Thank
them
you.
to the degree of which you don't have to communicate. But at some point, there has to be verbal communication.
No, I do communicate. Oh, no. I could not psychologically survive without communication.
Verbal communication.
And I cannot. Nene knows that.
I'm okay.
I could not. I will rabbit hole. I will get lost. it hurts me to have to think about what you may mean.
Yeah.
It does. It hurts me. It makes me sad. I get sad.
Yeah.
And
So I
somebody
need
has
to
be willing
understand.
listen and understand that as well. But you have to be a friend to be able to listen when she goes down these rabbit holes that
Yeah.
she's goes
I mean,
down.
transparently with Mimi, you will always be Nick's rock, right? Always, 100%. It was just a year ago where I was sitting there like, I don't know about this friendship with Nick because she ain't communicating. She going down this spiral and I can't do the shit, right? Like, I can't do it. Tell me what is wrong and we're going to figure this out. But if you can't tell me and I'm supposed to navigate around your feelings, it ain't going to happen, right? Because I'm a therapist. I got to do that shit for work. I ain't doing that shit in my friendships, right?
She's a very emotional
The
person.
hard part with
but
that,
you have
though,
to
is
know
even
that.
knowing yourself that
But it's
something's
not
wrong.
for
Right.
I think you have to
And
know
what is
yourself
triggering
very
for me,
well.
because nonverbal communication is triggering for me, right? And so it got to a point where Nick and I, and you guys know, we're the grown ass women, and Mimi knows because,
I'm just Mimi.
come on, Mimi.
Becky, Becky.
Where we were just like, what the fuck is going on, right? Like, we're gonna have a conversation about this, and in that moment, I realized that there were certain things you were communicating non-verbally. There were certain things I was communicating verbally. We were missing each other. And then we got past it, right? To the degree now that I'm having these ideations a couple months ago and I'm at your house on the doorstep, right? Without words. So it works. It makes sense. I guess what I'm also saying is that there takes some time and some effort. There takes some actual intentionality into that to say, who am I?
And I'm not going to read a book about it.
We as Black, you know what? It is time for you to have a seat. Okay. All right.
In all fairness, to the
in all
book
fairness,
question,
there is great
people
books out there.
read books on marriage. Why
No,
can't you
and I
want to
I want to get to the book point.
But
What I'm also
on my
saying,
coffee table.
I might not keep it on the
Yes,
coffee
and
table.
friendship.
If you
and
need to
friendship
read a
table.
book on how to make
on my
friends and how to
coffee
be married, then
table.
you
I
can
might
come
write
see
one,
Dr. Plummer
At Onyx. The point that I'm making is that many people navigate the world like, oh, that's my friend. They just supposed to know. This is they supposed to just know. They
That's
supposed
not
to
fair.
feel it. This
Yeah,
is
that's
supposed
not
to,
fair.
and we have to own who we show up as friends. I could say to Jonai and I had a conversation earlier this year, and she said something to me, and I was like, Jonai, you not showing up the way I need you to show up. And Jonai said, well, bitch, similar to Mimi, you ain't showing the fuck. Well, I need you to show up. I said, well, what do you need from me? And she said X, Y, and Z. I said, okay, this is what I need, X, Y, and Z. But it came to a point where we were both like, this is not working. Who am I showing up as? Who are you showing up as? And where do we need to make the changes?
Yeah.
We take, again, to the point that you made earlier in the conversation, Jonai, we take it for granted. We won't put the shit on the vision board. We will plan out some money. We will plan out a marriage that will not last. We will plan out a clothing size that we know we ain't never gonna get to. But we will not plan out what it means to be a friend to the people who are closest to us. Our friends last longer than marriages. They are closer than our children in many situations. Y'all know more about me than my children know. Our friends are our life partners in ways that are soulmates. Isn't that what we started season 2? Our soulmates. And yet we put no fucking intention behind the shit.
Oh, I thought you meant vision board like to get friends. That's why I was like, that's lame.
Oh,
I'm
that's
doing
what
the
I
ones
was
I
like.
got,
I was like,
nigga.
don't do that because there's somebody that's watching
was
right
gonna
now
say.
who's like, I want a grown ass woman.
Get
How
your-
do I?
I
become
didn't.
a friend?
I'm
your
talking
mentioned
about
friends.
having
There's some people who want to
falls
friend
under
right now.
relationship
is not lame.
Period.
Right.
But my brain went to like, if you want a new house or a new car, I want a friend.
I
Like,
think
I think it falls
I
under
made it
relationships.
People are like, I
Period.
want
Yeah,
to
but
be friends.
vision boards
how
are
you act when you're
about
not
making things
married.
better.
Some people
too.
have a hard
So
time
I did a vision
matters.
board with my wife last year at an Onyx event.
Yeah.
And we did it together. And we put things on there that we want to increase in our relationship, things that we want to be different, things that we want to grow in, whatever. It was a great experience. Like, it was just super random for us. I don't think we intended to go there to do it together, but yeah, it was, we had a lot of stuff on there. We're already together.
Yeah.
But things that we want to do better.
And for people who feel like they don't have any friends, or they don't feel like they have any good friends,
Right.
then
Good
maybe a
friends or
vision
close
board makes
friends.
sense, because maybe it means, you know what,
That makes
maybe
sense.
Nick, it shows up naturally for you, but for some people it means that they have to go to like a meetup, or they have to engage in like a book club. They have
That's
to do
fair.
something to expose themselves, and then they have to say, I'm gonna actually talk, and I'm
And-
gonna actually be vulnerable,
and
and I'm
what do you
actually
have
gonna
the
respond.
capacity for?
I think those things are important.
What do you have the capacity for? I know we had to wrap up or whatever, but I was just talking to my friend Bree. Everybody knows Bree. And we were talking about, hey, Bree.
Hey, Bree.
We were talking about friends. I was talking about how for the past like 6 weeks, we have been hanging out with different pockets of friends because we don't mesh them all together, right? And it's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I just want to lay down, right? And then she was talking about, you know, making new friends. They met a couple or whatever and making new friends. But what do you have the capacity for? And maybe you do have the capacity if you're not getting fed from your other friend groups. Why do we have these friend groups? Are these
feeding?
Are these friend groups for show? You know, are these friend groups that we just keep holding on to because they just been there our whole lives? But are you actually being fed by these people? So you might not have the capacity for the people that you have, but you may have the capacity for new people. Right?
You outgrow people.
Right.
But in that situation, you have to decide the people who have been there, are they reasoned people? Are they seasoned people? Are they lifetime people? Or is it time to just end the friendship, right? So when you talk about your capacity, that becomes a message, a communication within yourself too, because people be holding on to friendships that be 10, 15, 20 years long, and you don't even like them people.
Society does that to us too, though.
Destiny decides.
But society does that to us too,
where
though.
those people fit in
We
your life.
look at
Oh, I
social
think there's
media.
intentionality
We look
with
at
destiny.
social
That's like
media
faith
and we
without
see
works.
these friend groups doing all these things, picnics together and whatever. And so you tend to hold on to people because you want to have somebody to maybe be able to do some of these things that we see out in society. Like they might not be real friends, but it looks good on social media.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
Let's
So-
go ahead and wrap it up. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I heard your comment, the faith without works. I think that you don't actually know until the time has expended. What the season is has turned a revelation. I don't think you always know right ahead. Some people do, but I don't think you always know right ahead what the season or the reason is for those relationships. And so I think the divine intervention is there. I can't pick out people when I meet them and say,
absolutely.
you're for a season. You're for the season
No,
of my life
never
where
in
I'm
the
meeting your
beginning.
friends.
It never happens in the beginning.
I just don't think that's the case. I think you have to run the evolution and then you see the you see what happens.
I want to be clear that never happens in the beginning. I don't think anybody in the beginning goes to somebody like, I'm going to be with you as a friend for a reason, because that becomes transactional and that becomes like a sense of like misuse of a person's essence. But there are times when we are in a friendship and we thought it was a lifetime friendship, and then there's a series of experiences or divine intervention that happens and we're like, this ain't lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
You know, this is
okay.
reason,
That's
this is
okay.
season, and that's just what it is.
I
This is
don't
part of
think
purpose.
I ever differentiate lifetime versus forever. I feel like if you're my friend, you're my friend, and that's not. And my expectation is that it's for a lifetime.
So all of your friends that you've had since elementary and middle school are still your friends today?
I still consider them my friends, but
Every single one.
No. But the people, but I don't consider them friends. If these are people that I want, and I have to catch myself. My wife actually got on me about that. Like, how are these your friends? You haven't talked to them in 10 years. How was that your friend? And so I'm like, okay, well, it was my friend. My friend when I was my childhood friend,
Right,
or whatever it is. So it makes me think
Would be
of.
a seasonal friend.
But that's a natural thing. To me that's a natural thing. That's not something that I decide. I don't think.
I don't know,
I don't
because
think.
there's some of your friends that are.
I don't think you decide. I think it's destiny and where
Are
your
there
life
some of
takes
those
you.
friends from that same period that you are still close with?
Some.
And was there intentionality placed in those relationships?
Maybe, but a lot of them.
not gonna get cussed out.
I don't know. Well, I just
see,
have another one.
we have it part 2. Okay.
Yeah, okay. We
Hey,
have to do part
listen,
two, because
folks.
I was like,
You
you
are
coming
probably
back.
like, we didn't do a general
about y'all like
introduction of
friends,
why
then
we are sitting
follow.
here looking like Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus and Santa and Baby. Zami Mandingo. Is my name Zami? Zammy Mandingo.
Zammy Mandingo.
But it's because we jumped right into it with Mimi, right? Like, and having our first guest, which we were super excited about. So go on Google and give us some feedback about how.
And come back.
Mimi's going on Google. And
Yeah,
giving
Mimi
us-
gonna go on Google and she gonna give us feedback about
Anything
what
I said
it
you didn't
was.
like, my bad.
We hope you liked it. And if you didn't, it's okay, because it's probably somebody in your friend group that agrees with her. Okay? But we are just like this because we decided, last year we did ugly sweaters and we was cute. We just can't be ugly. Okay. So we did ugly sweaters. It didn't work out. We decided that we wanted to do Christmas and Halloween. Halloween?
Wait a minute. She's hungry, guys.
I am hungry. Christmas pajamas. So you see us in our favorite Christmas pajamas. Some with thighs out, some with not, some with
thighs out.
breastises close out, some with not. But anyhow, that is our plug on our clothes that we're wearing. As you saw, this conversation got real interesting. It got real deep, right? Like, we keep talking about friendships, and as much as we want to think that our friendships are supposed to be like over there, they're extremely personal to us, and in some degrees they could be quite triggering as well, right? So clearly we're gonna have a part 2 of this, so look forward to that in January. In the meantime, thank you for signing in, listening in, whether it's on your podcast streaming platforms or whether it's on YouTube. And I also hope it's on YouTube so you can see our little outfits. Thank you for coming in for Grown Ass Women Season 3, Episode 2, and our very first episode with a guest, Melissa Mimi Johnson,
Barbie doll.
who is our Barbie doll
Barbie doll.
13. So make sure you follow her on Instagram. Make sure you vote and you do all the things, because she is a wonderful advocate for women over 40, doing the things, keeping it sexy, keeping it cute, keeping it smart. She is a mom of 3. She is a wife, almost 20 years married, right?
22.
Almost 22 years married. And she is a wonderful friend to all of us.
And an educator.
And an educator.
Reading specialist.
A specialist, a reading specialist. And she is also the
knows how
god
to
sister
read them.
to Nikki Nina, the Dublé divorcee. So listen again. Go ahead. Take in this podcast, have the conversation with your friends, share it with other grown-ass women and grown-ass men. Keep it real in the conversation. Make sure you come back in January, listen to us as we continue this particular conversation. It's time for you to not have the conversation with us. And if you have some extra money that you want to spend on sponsorship, we will gladly take it.
Please.
Thank you.
Please
Out.
make it rain.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.